Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I'm sitting down with Rickard, Noel. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Everything's good. I'm feeling great. Thank you for taking the time out to interview me. I'm honored. And let's just get the people what they want. You got the questions. I'm here to answer them. All right. So the real word started off with me just doing Facebook Live in my room, right? Because I would always write how I feel on the wall in Facebook, and then I started writing on the wall in my room, and I started writing. I just kept writing, and then people would tell me, "Yo, like your post, it evokes so much different emotions. It seems like you be going through a lot of different things, and you express a lot of different sides of you." I'm like, "Yeah, like that's just how I be feeling, but I don't think anybody reads it." So they was like, "Yeah, we read it." I said, "No, you don't," and they told me verbatim, like different posts that I had posted throughout my history on Facebook, and I was like, wow. So then I moved from just writing on the wall to doing like Facebook Live videos in my room. So I would just be in my room or in my living room, and I would just be making videos. And then from doing that, I was like, yo, let's start up this show. But before we even reached the show, I had this pastor who was like, yo, you have influence on people. And I was like, what do you mean I have influence on people? He was like, you a leader. You might not realize it, but you a leader. My mom used to tell me, yo, you a leader. It's just that you be leading people to do the wrong things. If you was to use your power for good, God would bless you. So I was like, yeah. So then that same pastor, he's like, yo, one day I'm gonna make you preach, and I'm gonna record it. Make sure after that everything you do, you record it. And he had one of those old big, old fashioned, old school cameras, them big box joints. So he used to have it and record it. And he was real old, and then he was like, "Young man, I'm an old man. I'm gonna retire soon. After I retire, someone has to take over." And then during his run out the church, he had like 2 or 3 strokes, and then he was just like, "Yo, somebody gotta take over." So he let me preach that day, and he gave me the video. I posted it on Facebook. It took about a year to hit 1,000 views, and then the first sermon was called "The Reincarnation of Rickard G. Noel," and I used my family's photo book, and I showed my story from when I was born and I came to America from Haiti all the way to currently. And then people was like, wow, I didn't even know that he was able to concoct such a thing. I guess they did not think I had that degree of intellect. So then my second sermon, I was like, all right, like now y'all see what I could do. I'm going to show you what I could really do. So then I named that one Let He Who's Without Sin. And that was a deep one. I guess after that, I started being invited to places to preach. And then I had a sermon that went viral. For me, it hit like 55,000 views. And I was like, wow, like people's really watching. And then that's when, all the titles and recognition came and everything. And I had a big following at that time. Well, so I thought it was big, it's gotten bigger over the years. But so I was like, what can I do with this following? Because I don't see myself as a pulpit preacher yet, So I was like, how can I reach the people? And I was like, let me create something where I could give them the real word. And then that's how it came about. And so I hit up a couple people. I hit up a couple young people who I think would have had a good voice, And the day that it came to film, they all flopped except for one person. Shout out to Sandra Camo, because he was there, So he believed in the dream. And then he came through. Shout out to Patricia Cadet. She came through too for the first episode, and we called it Why Do I Believe in God? And then that was in my other basement. We filmed the first episode, and from there, it just kept going, snowballing. And then, that's how the Real Word came to be. That's how the Real Word TV came. Then Sandra was like, yo, let's do some community service. Like when you touching the people, that's a different type of level. Like when you showing them love, he was like, yo, because he had that energy to go do it, and he would push me. He'd be like, yo, you could get the plugs, just get the plugs and we could put it together. I'm gonna bring you the people, you're gonna work it out, and we're gonna do this. And that's how it was, you know? So then we started doing community service things, and we would tell people, yo, donate to a GoFundMe just on this platform on the show, and people would donate, and we would do it. We would show it online. We would show it on social media because we had a big social media following. So people was like, wow, they doing it. Then we got investors, and we did the Real Word Ministries, Inc., which is a 501c3 non-for-profit charity. And, you know, eventually we had the Real Word Realty LLC, the real estate investment company. We also got the Real Word podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on SoundCloud as well. So, you know, it's growing. I think I was able to experience a lot of different things. Like, you know, I was able to experience how it felt like being an immigrant growing up in the ghetto. You know, I came to America in, I think, 92, and I lived in Bushwick. It wasn't gentrified Bushwick that it is right now. It was Bushwick during the crack era, you know, late 80s, early 90s. And it was when you had the abandoned lots, you had the stray dogs that would chase you. You know, I grew up on food stamps. I didn't see my first real dollar till like 10, 11 years old, you know. My mom used to send us to the store with food stamps, and we would get WIC checks, and we would have to get the knife and cut the holes in the top of the juice can because they came in cans, you know. We used to put our hands in cereal boxes, and the rats used to run up our arms. We used to wear sneakers till the soles were gone, you know. So I know how it feels to live like that. And then, you know, as I got older, my parents was always hard workers. When we got a little older, we moved to Canarsie. Canarsie was, you know, a little move up. You feel me? It was like a black suburb in a sense. And when I got to Canarsie, I got exposed to a lot of different things, and I was going through a lot of different emotions in my life. I was always going to church, but I wasn't always in church, you understand? So, you know, I did the partying, I did different things, you know? So that aspect is in me too. So to be part of all those different worlds and to still be here today and still doing positive right now, you know, I feel like this is giving back. Like this right here is my redemption for all the people I hurt. I could help more people, and that's just the way I see it. With the videos, I never really paid much attention to the numbers because you see the numbers, but you don't know who's watching. You understand? So it could say 100 views, it could say 200 views, it could say 20,000 views, it could say 50,000 views. Okay, cool. 50,000 people watch this video I put up, but who are these people? It's different when they come up to you and was like, yo, I was going through a situation in my life and I watched your sermon, or I came to hear you preach and it helped me through this situation. Or like, yo, I like that sermon that you preached on so-and-so that it changed my life or helped me. Or keep doing the work, brother, because you're helping a lot of people. What you're doing is inspirational. You understand? Like, you see the numbers, but when the people come to you and they speak to you about the stuff, about what you're doing, like, that's when it's like, wow. Like, even when we went to the award show recently, like, we got the award for Kings of Kings. Like, you know, we was nominated for being one of the most exceptional men in the borough of Brooklyn. You know, and we got all these citations and awards and stuff. I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, this is a lot. And I'm like, this is cool. This is cool, but this is just things that I'm picking up on the journey. You understand? And this is just the first. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of stuff that's going to come after this. So that's the mind state that I got to keep myself in. There's a catch-22 to it, you know. Shout out to Brooklyn. I grew up in Brooklyn. I've been in Brooklyn, you know, for 29 years of my life, almost 30 years of my life, you know. When I was in Canarsie, you know, people knew me in Canarsie. And then I was part of the party scene. We used to do bottles. We used to do VIP. So people knew us from that. You know, people knew me from the block. People knew me from different jobs. People knew me because of the car I drove. People knew me from the hood, just the way I move. And when I first started preaching, most of the people who were supporting first was people from outside, like people from my school, people from my jobs, people that knew me in the neighborhood. It was like, yo, I want to come see this because you of all people, bro, I want to see this. I gotta see this for myself. And then afterwards, the people from the church called on. So it was something like that. I mean, I almost died in the streets a few times, you know. On my 21st birthday, I was just telling the story the other day. On my 21st birthday, my father and I was going back and forth with each other. Because when you're young, you know, your first hero and your first adversary is your father, so you're going to bump heads a lot. So my father and I used to bump heads. My dad's petty. Every time me and him bump heads, he would tell me, don't drive my car, don't drive my car. If anybody know about Canarsie, you know, after a certain time, like buses don't run like that. And it's quiet. So it's like the next bus is gonna take a while, and there's some parts of Canarsie the bus don't even run through. You understand what I'm saying? So we had to walk from the L train station, and I was trying to walk. My girlfriend at the time, she lived by like the hundreds and Avenue M all the way up top. So it was a long walk. And it was these people, like they followed us from the train station all the way to by Avenue M, probably. Past the McDonald's, past the Burger King, past the Chinese food store. And then past Canarsie High. And then there was one dude, he tried to cut me off with the bike. I had to push him off. And then the girl was like, yo, they following us. I was like, they're not following us. Then the dude on the bike, he tried to cut us off. I had to push him out the way. She was like, run. And then we started running. And then out the blue, a cab showed up in the middle of the night. It was probably like after 1 a.m. And then she was like, get in the cab. I said, nah, you get in the cab first. She's like, no, you get in the cab first. I got in the cab, she got in the cab. And when we got in the cab, the dude pulled out his gun. He was about to shoot at the cab. And I told the cab driver, yo, drive off. I gave you $20. Back then, $20 was a lot, you know? Even now, $20 is a lot. So imagine back then. Imagine 10 years ago. So I was like, damn. He was like, all right, you don't got to tell me twice. He was out. He drove me. When I got to the house, I told my dad, give me the car. And they go drive home. He was like, what happened? I was like, yo, these dudes just trying to kill me. Like, he was like, all right, take the car. I dropped her home. She was like, don't go after them. Don't go looking after them. I went after them. I didn't even find them, though. But after that, I fell back. I was like, yo, I gotta stop moving, like, so hot. So then I just fell back, you know, and I was just relaxing, trying to just change my life. And I seen other people around me. And then when I met my wife, like, she wasn't a Christian at first, but then she was like, yo, where do you go on Saturdays? I'm like, I go to church. She was like, no, you don't. And then she was like, and I was like, yeah, I go to church. She's like, no, you don't. Stop lying. I said, all right, so come with me then. And she came with me, and then, you know, till this day, we've been going together. So that's a testimony right there. So, you know, and, you know, while teaching other people the faith, and then you see, like, you really do have a following, you really do have influence on people, you start to get better, and the better you get, the better the people around you get, you know? And the more people around you, like, the better you gotta get if they're looking up to you. So that's where the change came in. And I made a promise to God. I'm like, yo, God, if you show me a better way, I'm gonna do it. And God did until now. You understand? I never thought I would own a company. I never thought I would have a TV show. I never thought these things. I never thought people would invite me to preach at their church and stuff like that. I never thought I would become an elder in the church. You understand? I never thought I would be married with children. I never really thought about those things. Like, they probably passed through my mind, but I never thought that I would be manifesting them. At least not to this degree. You understand? Of course. This eye's watching me right now. It's like, what are you saying? The more people that's watching you succeed is the more people that's watching and waiting for you to fail. You understand? Like, and that's just what it is. Like, I had an answer for this question before you even asked me it. And I was gonna preach it in the sermon. The point I'm at right now is like I'm standing on the ledge of a building, right? From one person's perspective, it looks like I'm about to jump off, and they're waiting for me to jump off. From another person's perspective, they're looking up and like, look, he's living in a penthouse. That's how deep it is. You understand? A lot of people is looking up to you like, yo, he's doing great. A lot of people looking up to you like they waiting you to fall. And it's like everyone is judging you because you put yourself out there. The more people that see you, the more people that's there to judge you. Every day, I wrote something today on Facebook. It had over like 50 comments. People kept accusing me of something that I never even said. But that's the way it is. Because if they defeat you in open public, then the court of public opinion sees them as someone that won, that defeated you. They get the clout. But at the same time, the more victories that you have, the more people love you, but the more people hate you. Just think about Floyd Mayweather. He's undefeated. There's a lot of people that want to see him win, but there's a lot of people that was like, damn, I wish he lost. Exactly. He's too good. Pop Smoke's from my hood, from Canarsie. So I used to see Pop Smoke around the neighborhood. It's like I grew up in Canarsie, and I grew up in the 100s, and then I moved to the 80s. And both of them is like a mix, you know. The gangs that they had in Canarsie, or that got in Canarsie, they had the Crips, they had the Bloods, they had the Folk, they had the PH. PH was like Crips mostly. And, you know, they had the Beamers, the BMWs. Some of them was mostly Blood. They had a couple other gangs, KOK, and then. But now they got the Woos and they got the Chos, you know? Lucky Lefty is the Crips, and the Real Rights is the Bloods. But then there's the Woos that got both sets underneath them sometimes. I don't know, it's kind of confusing now, because I think they both have a mutual enemy in the Folks, I think. That's what I think from what I've been told, but I could be wrong. But Pop Smoke, like, he was Woo, he was Crip. And he was pushing that culture and that narrative, and the message that he was pushing, which wasn't not necessarily a positive message, but at the same time, seeing him succeed and being from where we were from gave us pride in him. You understand? It was like, yeah, we was happy seeing another one of us make it. And that's how we felt. And the fact that he was from Canarsie and we was in Canarsie, he was making his videos where we go every day. It made Brooklyn feel good about themselves, and the industry was embracing him. But then they took him out early, and it hurt even me. You understand? Like, I would listen to his music sometimes, but I'm not on that frequency of the music that he makes. But I was happy for the fact that he was a young brother from Brooklyn who was doing good. You know, like being able to take care of himself and his family, and a situation like that. But it was unfortunate that they took him away, because he was a superstar, bro. He was a superstar. And it wasn't until like his death that a lot more people got. It's because, you know, when he was alive, he had maybe like 400,000 or 600,000 followers, but he hit 1 million after he died. It's like they be loving you after you're gone, and that's the weirdest part about it.
For some reason, it seems like in order for a rapper to receive legendary status, or anybody for that matter, they end up dying, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this person was the greatest, you know. I mean, I know everybody talks about Notorious B.I.G., but while he was living, he only released 2 albums, but people still consider that to be classic, you know. Mm-hmm. But the way that I saw it, I was like, you know, he had promise. And I'm pretty sure at some point in his life, he would have changed the narrative. Mm-hmm. He would have been able to say like, okay, yeah, I made it out of the hood. but look at where I came from. Look at where I'm standing now. I'm a different type of person. And sometimes it may take somebody 10, 15, maybe even 20 years in order to reach the full peak of themselves.
He did say that in his song Juicy. He was like, "Cause I turned the negative into a positive and it's all good, baby, baby."
Right.
Yeah, he did say that.
And I feel that it's important for young people to understand, you know, to look at this in two ways. Yes, there was a gentleman that was able to come out of the hood and make something positive of himself, but also at the same time, maybe the nefarious activities that he did in the past, somehow it caught up with him. And that's why you have to always be careful to cut off any ties that, you know, or branches, as you might say, that are deadly. You know, because sometimes we hang around certain people who have a negative type of energy. We don't realize it at the moment, you know, but little by little they're seeing us in our success and our peaks. And then the next thing that you know, it's like once they know where we're at, that's it and it's done. And my thing was that shortly after he passed, there was a young man that was on Instagram that was trying to fuel the fire, that was from Brooklyn, that had X amount of followers, and was like, oh, you know, I didn't give them the address, it was just out there, you know. And I feel like doing that, you're putting a target on yourself, but also at the same time, you're trying to profit off another man's death, you know.
It'd be like that.
And I see that personally in this world, there are just some people that they don't get a chance to say what they want to say. You know, you have a lot of people that, you know, they have a lot of things in their heart that they want to say, but then you look at all these musicians and you see that these people, they have the power to say what they want to say, but to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because they know that the words that they speak are powerful.
Yes and no. I'm mindful in general because of the things that I say, because words do have power, and there's the power of life and death in the tongue. But I'm not scared to lose my titles because of something that I say and that I believe in. As in, like, what is the man? How can I have a title if I'm not a man behind it? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're a man, you gotta stand on certain morals and principles and whatever comes behind that.
That's true. That's definitely true. And, you know, me as a man myself, I know that I have to hold myself to a certain standard. You know, even if I see younger brothers in church that are not doing the right thing, I just try to give them encouragement. I just try to give encouragement in general. I know we've come to this place in the world where it's like, forget everybody else. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to focus on me. I can't do that. For some reason, when I see somebody that's hurting or they're dealing with something, for some reason, I just have to be like, yo, step in, you know. I've been in situations where I had 3 different individuals, and these situations happened probably maybe a year apart or so, but they all told me that they were dealing with depression, that they were close to committing suicide. I must have spent at least 2.5 hours on the phone with these individuals, you know, and it's important to know that you're accessible at all times. People have to know that you're accessible at all times, you know. I just feel that makes you, it shows empathy and also your humanity at the same time.
So let me ask you a question, right? If you had all my titles and you had this following, what would you do with it? Like, how would you carry yourself?
Wow, that's definitely a big question. You know, I would be mindful of the things that I personally say on social media, because if I end up having a following like yours, you know, there has to be some changes, and it can't just be for the camera. It has to be internally and externally, as well as spiritually, because everybody is watching you. I mean, me, I'm not one of these popular guys in church or anything like that, but anywhere that I go, if it's Brooklyn or somewhere in Queens, anywhere that I go, and I don't even have to have been at a person's church. They already know me. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? I see you doing the music thing. When's the mixtape coming out?" And I'm like, "Wow." People.
But that's the weirdest thing, bro. That's the weirdest thing. Everything I do, I don't really, in my mind, I don't really think no one cares still. Because I was talking to someone today, right? One of my elders. And he was saying that, and I was talking to him about it, and he was like, the problem is you have to know how people look at you. He said, one of the things that Jesus did with his disciples is that he asked them, who do they say I am? Or who do you say I am? He said, because the way people look at you and the way you look at yourself is two different ways. And I told him that when I look in the mirror, I still see the person that I was 10, 20 years ago. I still see the same person. I still feel the same way. So, in a sense, it's almost as if when people see me a different way, or when I walk in the room and people know all these things about me, I just see it as being weird. Like, I'm like, okay. Especially like if I don't even know who they are and I don't even know their names. No disrespect to them, but it's like, I guess more people see me than I see them. And that's the scariest part about the whole thing. You understand? But that's why I like to ask people that I don't know, but that see me doing all these things, like, how do they see me? You understand? That's why I asked you, if you had this platform or if you had these positions, what exactly would you do with it? And you said that you would mind what you say, and you said that you would make sure that you're the same person on camera that you are off camera, physically, mentally, and spiritually, which I could understand. But what would you do with it? Like, how would you lead the people? Like, what would be your next step? Those are the questions that I'm asking. What would you do with it?
Well, I think personally for me, I'm not even sure, because it's like, it would be like, that's some big shoes to fill, you know what I mean? And what I realize is that not everybody is the same in how they handle, you know, certain situations or how they come across, you know? Because the thing is, for one thing, you can't fake personality.
True.
That's one. Second thing, you know, I can't be in a place like this and, you know, coming in with love and energy, and then the next day I'm walking on the street and someone recognizes me from the broadcast the previous day, and I'm nasty to them and I don't know them, but they know me, or they have mutual friends, and they're like, that's the same guy?
So how does my personality, you think, come off?
Well,
Because you see me online, and now you're seeing me in person. So,
I mean, to me, the energy is exactly the same. You know, and the funny thing is that I haven't even spent that much time with you, but just from the small amount of time that we've been here, I feel like everything that you say, whether it be in your statuses or when you're doing the real word, it's genuine. You know, because you can't get that from a lot of people. You might see somebody, for example, hosting an event, and they're smiling and cheerful. After the event is over, you try to go and talk to them. They barely have the energy, or they might just brush you off and walk past you. You know, and I understand sometimes a lot of people just know how to turn on the charm. When it's time for them to go to their separate place and head home, they turn it off.
yeah.
But the thing is, if you're that type of person 24/7 and you don't have to turn the switch on and off, then obviously there's something different about you.
Yeah. I don't even think I got charm, to be honest. I'm just myself. But one thing that my elder told me today, he said that not everybody gonna have the same degree of understanding that you do. And one of my other elders said that a prophet always appears way before his time. So you could be saying something and people are gonna take it one way, but it's so advanced. And that's why they're saying that the Bible is so prolific, is because of the fact that the Bible could talk about the past and the present and the future all at the same time, and it still makes sense. As in, a prophet could prophesy something in the Old Testament about the New Testament, and the person in the New Testament is living it exactly the same way as the Old Testament, and they quoting people from the Old Testament showing this is what it is. So that's where I'm at with it. A lot of people never gonna understand, and that's why I say many are called but few are chosen. You gotta really understand that.
Yes.
Because I can't say I'm not chosen, you understand?
Right.
So I can't deny it. So all I could do is I'm already in it. I might as well go hard. I might as well, you know. Somebody hit me up for an interview, sure, why not?
Right.
If somebody watch the show, sure, why not? Somebody tell me come preach at your church, sure, why not? I'm gonna do it because I'm already in it. You understand?
Right.
And I'm not gonna be Jonas and run away and get swallowed by a whale and who knows? You feel me? So I'm like, all right. Whoever watches, watches. Whoever don't, and it is what it is. But I was never expecting this much people to watch it, and then they expect me to be a perfect person. Like, no, I'm not gonna be a perfect person. I'm not gonna give you the fake cookie cutter that you're used to, because those people are fake. I told you, I trademarked it. This is the real word.
Right.
So you're gonna take it or you don't want it. Like, yeah, it's not my fault. You've been lied to your whole life. It's just that it is what it is.
Yeah, you know, and the funny thing, the irony about it is that earlier today, I put up a post and it had something to do with church, and basically, you know, people were like, oh, you know, parents force their kids to go to church when they're young, and then when they get older, they don't feel like going anymore. Personally, to me, when I read that, I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because it's like your parents tell you to go to school, even when you don't feel like it, but education is good. So, I mean, how can that translate in terms of church? Because it's like when you're 4 or 5 years old, you don't have a choice to be like, you know what, I'm going to stay home, I'm going to relax and chill. No, the way that things are, you're automatically born into that particular religion that your parents are in.
Yeah, he force you. But the difference with school and church is when you reach a certain age, you could cut school and your parents might not find out, but you can't cut church because they there every week religiously.
Right.
That's the difference.
Before we go, I have one last question.
After the one last question, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I went into overdrive. But
Nah,
this
go ahead. It's cool. It's cool.
yeah. But this is gonna be the last one.
Sheesh. All right. So you ever heard of the parable of the 3 men with the talents, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you understand that parable. So I feel like through my whole entire life, I've been collecting talents, different talents from different people, and the more I communicate with them, and the more in tune I get with them, and the more I network with them, then I'm able to grow everything that I'm doing. So I said, what's the best way that I could get people to come to one place all at one time, right?
Right.
Hypothetically, in movies and everything else, what do they do to get energy from people, to get people to travel from one place to another instantly? They create a portal. So I'm like, where can I create this portal? So I'm like, I'm gonna create a portal in the storage room. That way I could find a place to store all my hopes and dreams, and the portal is open, so the door is always open to anyone that wants to walk in. So 135 episodes later, about what, 20 something sermons later, this is where we at. So I would tell the person, create the dream, even if it's in a dark place, even if it's in the basement, even if it's in a storage room, just create the dream. Once you got the dream up and going, the dream don't have to be perfect. It just has to be started. Once it's started and you build that foundation, others will believe in the dream because you believe in it with all your heart. Once you get others to believe in it, then that's where faith comes in. The belief of the things unseen. Others can't see it, but you see it. Because you have the faith. So once you get the faith and you got a team around you, you start building. Don't get too arrogant, because you know what happened at the Tower of Babel. Just, keep humble, continue building your team, continue building your dream, network with other people, talk with other people, I don't work with people from Bangladesh, Singapore, Albania, Brooklyn, California, you name it.
Wow.
But it's like all these people God sent to me, and it's from Matthew chapter 21, where Christ was telling his disciples to go and fetch the donkey and its colt. If anyone asks, tell him that the Lord has sent you. And that's how I got here. Everything that I had to do when I went to go do it, I was like, it's the Lord that's sending me. And those that accepted. Before every episode, we thank God. After every episode, we pray. As we close in the episode, on live in front of everybody, we always keep Christ-centered, because it's two hands from the two different worlds. And the Bible opened up, and then the world opened up to us, And that's it.
Wow. This has been a most eye-opening half hour. I want to thank our guest, Rickard Noel, for taking the time to sit down with us and speak about his ministry. And we hope that we can sit down in a venue like this again next time, and maybe even get Sander to come along and to do something different. But once again, thank you, and until next time, blessings.
All right, peace.
Peace.